Hello, I wanted to do a quick tutorial on saving your Flash workout as an HTML file so that an HTML web page can hold your Flash content. Because what happens if you try to open, let me jump in browser here. If you open up a Flash movie inside of a browser, what it's going to do is it's going to stretch to fit whatever browser size that you have. This is not an ideal scenario because at these very large sizes, it scales pretty well, but if you get any raster graphics in your Flash work or text, what can happen is this can get skewed out of proportion and not look very good. As you can see, we get like some borders down here at this size that we don't like. So usually what we want to do is have this Flash be at a fixed size, whatever you initially created it to be. So we need to house this Swift file within an HTML file. So the way we can do that, let's jump over to Flash. Here's our movie. Note the size of your movie first. We have a 550 by 400 stage. And so one of the easier ways to do this is to let Flash do it. So you can go to File, Publish Settings, and make sure that you have HTML wrapper checked. Now there's some different options here, but the defaults work pretty good for what we want. But you might want to modify some of these other things as well. But I'm going to leave the defaults and I'm going to hit Publish, and that will save me an HTML file. So what we get then, we got the HTML file. If we open this up in a browser, we have gotten better here. So now the image is what we originally intended it for it to be. Now the only problem here now is it's kind of stuck in the upper left corner. It hasn't really done too much with it. We kind of want it to be centered. A lot of times you want to plug this Flash element inside of a bigger web page. So you might have a portfolio site, for instance, where you're listing thumbnails or different things in your portfolio. You could actually just plug in that Flash element inside of any web page. Sometimes you might want to have some kind of instructions if it's an interactive piece, or a background that kind of goes along with it and matches it. Or sometimes you just want to have it positioned on the page, centered so it can be alone in a browser. So this is pretty easy to do as well. If I open up this HTML file over in Dreamweaver, this is what we'll see. Now there is a div here called Flash Content that is created. Now all we have to do is make a little modification to your CSS and you will be in pretty good shape. So right now the width and height is set to 100%, and we don't want that. We actually want to set the width and height to be an exact pixels based on what we had before. So I'm going to change this in the CSS to 550 pixels. I'm going to change the height to 400 pixels. And then for the margin, actually I think I might have added this when I was playing around with this before the video, but make sure that you add margin auto, and then that will center that within your design. So I'm going to save this file, go back to this, and now we have it centered. Now a lot of times too, that looks better kind of depending on what browser size. So if this were just a banner ad you were showing off or whatever, this is going to look a little bit better. Now you can also control the positioning, especially if you've got a website that's based in Flash or something like that. Sometimes you might want to add a little bit of top margin so it's not sitting right on that border. So you might do margin top 20 pixels, something like that. That'll kick that just down a little bit so it's not touching the very top there. You won't be able to tell in this example just because there's a blank screen at the top, but there's a little bit more margin there, and it's centered, and this is an ideal way to display any Flash work.